This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Greetings, mortal. That's kind of frightening.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 52 of Lords of the Storm, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true heroes of the storm. I'm your host, Greg Parker, a.k.a. Gizmozord, but you can call me Gizmo. And on this week's episode, Lords of the Lane 3 is coming. The release date for Zool is set for this coming Tuesday. We recap the Heroes Charity Brawl, which, by the way, you all are crazy. And it's not Sunday, but it's time to go to church to discuss some Rehgod in this week's Hero of the Week. But, of course, joining me this evening are some more of the Zord Lords themselves. First up, we have Mr. Kevin Ellis, a.k.a. Multi-Zord. How's it going, Multi?
Pretty well. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. Been looking forward to doing the show again. It feels like it's been a long week since the last show, and I've been missing it.
It does.
And I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't do any other shows or anything this week, but I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah.
We also have joining us, as always, Mr. Ryan Reeder, a.k.a. TBK Zord. How are you doing, TBK?
Really good. I'm a little tired. I've been slightly sleep deprived this week. So I've actually got my gunners on because my eyes are fatigued.
Got them stunner shades on.
Yes. So they're helping my eye fatigue. And it's actually true. They may not live up to the ridiculous list of things that they do, that the cure cancer and all that other stuff that they list on their website, but it does help with general eye strain and stuff.
I would actually love a pair, but since I have glasses, it's just, yeah.
You can get prescription ones.
That sounds really expensive. And
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does not sound good. And everyone we also have joining us tonight, if you're here with us live, you probably don't recognize him, so it doesn't matter because we weren't live at this point, but he is one of the founding hosts of this show that started out with us from the beginning. It is Mr. Patrick May, a.k.a. Smash Sword, not Stomp Sword, which is my brother, which is a long throwback. But Pat, Smash, how are you doing, man?
Doing well. Happy to be here, guys. I miss seeing your beautiful faces and talking to you guys on this podcast, so it's going to be a good time.
Absolutely, dude. It's, it's been a long time. We've had 2 Zords on 2 weeks in a row now, so it's
crazy.
It's going to be, hopefully this one doesn't go 2 hours like the last one did. I mean, it was a great episode, but holy cow, that was long.
We do have less to talk about this
Yes.
episode, so
That'll come in handy.
I think we'll be better.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
What have you guys been up to just in gaming this week so far? Multi, we'll start with you.
Pretty much my standard stuff, a little bit of Hearthstone, a little bit of Heroes. I will say, though, I am desperately looking for my Game Boy 3DS because I really, really want to play the new Fire Emblem Fates. But no, I've at least narrowed it down. It's not in my room, and I'm pretty sure it's not in the main room of the house. So we're narrowing it down, but we're not quite there yet. Still a lot of places to look. So that's disheartening, but it's apparently a really sweet game, and I can't wait to try it out.
I go through phases on occasion to where I freak out and really want to find my 3DS as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll search for it forever, and eventually I'll find it, and then I play it for about 30 minutes, and then I lose it again. And the whole process starts over in about 6 more months.
Just rinse and repeat, yeah.
I think I do want to find it again, though, to get, Pokemon Red and Blue.
That's true.
Are being re-released.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I've tried some of the newer ones and stuff, but there's too many now. Just bring it back to the original 151, man.
That's what they're doing. The question is, though, are they going to have Missing No and the whole bug again, where you can duplicate your items?
Oh,
know.
yeah. Just
It's not-
rare
it's not
candy.
a- True
It's not
copy.
red and blue without it.
Rare
It's true.
candy. TBK, what have you been up to this week in gaming?
Really not a lot. It's been a super, super busy week for me. I played a little bit of Overwatch. I try to get a little of that in every week. And then the rest, it was mostly just Heroes. Only half of actually playing Heroes, though. The other half was spent casting Heroes, which was a ton of fun. A lot of chair league going on. I was able to cast some of Sham's Heroes of the Dorm, which was pretty sweet on Sunday. And I'm going to be doing a little more this Saturday as well as chair league tomorrow night. So that'll be a ton of fun. It always is, especially now that my computer problems are fixed and my game is not stuttering along at 10 FPS. I found out that the brand new OBS does not work well with my CPU, so I had to go back to the old.
Is it just
OBS.
your CPU, or is it just the new
It's
OBS
my
having
CPU
problems?
because I switched back to the old OBS and I'm using the NVIDIA codec now that uses your graphics card to process it in the video instead of the CPU, and it runs flawlessly. I've got a first gen i7. Like this is my year to build a new PC, so it's just I'm waiting for the new NVIDIA cards to come out before I do it. So
Excellent.
the CPU's a little bit old.
Mine is not, and it's
Yours
awesome,
is not.
but I'm still paying for it.
I remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be paying for it for a while. Pat, what have you been up to in game?
Mostly Heroes this week. I knocked out a lot of games with Blackout, actually. We definitely did some work in Hero League. But other than that, not too much other than Heroes. I actually installed this game called World of Warcraft again. So,
Oh, yes.
yeah, I'm
Great.
gonna have to jump back into that old saddle. But yeah, other than that, the weather's been so nice. Or it was at least this past weekend. I spent as much time outside as I could. So that's what I've been up to.
If there is one thing you can count on the Zords to do, it is to play World of Warcraft when a new expansion comes out, stop playing it, trash it hardcore, and say they're never coming back, and then they all come back one at a time.
No,
just in time
I
for the
am
expansion.
dead serious.
vicious.
I'm not gonna do it this time.
That it's okay.
Not gonna do it.
I don't believe you.
Dead serious.
Don't believe you.
I'm not doing it either because the same thing's going to happen. We're all going to hop on for like 2-3 months.
See, no,
Maybe.
you guys
That's
get
it.
bored because you guys don't find anyone to raid with. This time, you're all going to make the transition. It's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. You're going to cry, but you're going to come to Alliance. You're going to join CTR,
No,
and
Greg,
then we're
I'd
going to have a
rather
good
die.
time.
Can't wait to be a Worgen.
You
That's all I can
guys
say.
are going to start the hardcore PvP chapter in CTR, who's been needing that really bad because there's people that want to do CTR or PvP and CTR. There's just not enough. So you guys are going to get
I
that going.
could do that because I'm not bad at PvP, but
Yeah.
I don't have the time, man. I don't know when I'd squeeze that in.
Well,
time.
as far as what I've been playing this week, I haven't had a whole lot of time. I've had a whole bunch of stuff going on. But I've gotten in some heroes, mostly on just my Smurf account, playing some solo games when I can get in, and that is still going well. I got up to 3,600 MMR 2 days ago, and then yesterday I lost 3 games in a row, and I think I'm at like 3,450 now, but it's going good, and I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop because I know I'm not that good to be up there. I think I have like 27 games left before my 100, before my MMR is actually set. And if it stays where it's at, I'll be ranked at like in the top 700 in quick match. And that'd be sweet, but it's not going to happen. So we'll see where it falls at. But I don't know. There's been a whole bunch of complaining, I know, in our Discord about matchmaking lately. And I feel like over the past week, I've kind of noticed how a majority of my games don't have a tank or support in them. Either that or it's 3 tanks or like two supports. It's been really weird for me. I don't know if you guys have been experiencing that. But I
We're
don't,
actually going to address that in depth a
Yeah.
little later too.
so, but that's I don't know. We'll see. Maybe something's pooping the bed. Maybe it's not. We'll find out. But before we hop into the regular stuff in the show, we got a few announcements. As I said in the intro, Lords of the Lane 3 is coming back. We've been talking about it for a while since you guys crushed our first Patreon milestone goal in like the first 24 hours or whatever it was. And we've set a date. It's going to be March 20th. So Again, we didn't do it this month because of the Heroes Charity Brawl, and we're struggling with finding a date because the Heroes of the Dorm events coming up and going on and stuff. It's like, well, we wanted to try and find a date that wasn't interfering with that, but the bottom line is, I think no matter what we did that was available to us, it was going to happen. So it's March 20th, and patron signups are going to go live a few days before the general. Since you guys have the priority access, we don't know when that signup's going to go up yet for sure, but we'll have that date next week. So when you guys can start signing up for that, we'll let the patrons know a few days, give them a chance to sign up, and then open it up to the public. But let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. TBK, what do we got in store sales?
So this week we have Rehgod. What great timing. And the actually very, very cool Ironclaw Rehgod skin. I really like that one. If I did not have the Master skin, I would use that one all the time because it's really cool. And then Marshall Rayner, which is actually a really cool Rayner skin.
It is.
It's got a lot of cool effects with it. It's got a mount that can go along with it. It's really cool. And, of course, the biggest news, the piggy bank is back. Long live the piggy bank. 20K gold, people.
Yes.
I will warn people, that is like the one decision I've made in this game that I immediately regretted, was the piggy bank mount.
Oh, yeah?
I
don't know why.
It's fine. It's a fine mount. I've used it maybe 5 times, and I don't need the gold anymore. I'm back up to almost 40K again, so give me another mount that I can just throw 20K gold at.
I'll say this, though. The Rehgod sale actually came in handy for me because I was sitting on some gold, wondering whether I'm going to buy Zool with gold or what. But Rehgod was on my table as well, and at 7K, that's not too bad. But I actually had just, like, that day thought it'd be nice if he just went on sale so I could get whatever small price of that, go from there. And, yep, there he was. I actually didn't even know about it until I logged into the game and saw it, and I was like, oh, yeah, right now.
Bye.
Does when they go on sale, I should know this, but I don't. When heroes go on sale, does their gold price go down as well, or just no?
Just the real money.
Dang it!
Unfortunately not.
Because I was
But
hoping.
even so, it was like $4, so
Yeah.
7K gold for $4.
I was just
Not
hoping
bad.
for my Smurf
Not too
account, since I'm trying to play that free, which I almost broke this week because GameStop's having the deal for it's like $10 or $11 to get that starter pack.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to do that because it's so cheap for my Smurf, but I said I'm going to play it free, so
It would
I'm
defeat the purpose.
I'm going to play it
It
free.
would defeat the purpose.
Yeah. But I got Li Ming on that account this week and been tearing it up with her. Holy cow. Speaking of heroes, though, Multi, what do we got in the free hero rotation this week?
Oh, we've got some interesting ones. We've got Malfurion, Vala. They always seem to stick together for sure. Nazeebo, I think is pronounced.
Nazebro.
Nazebro. That's it. And then we got Diablo, Sylvanas, Kerrigan, Tassadar at account level 5, Lunara at account level 7, Stitches at 12, and Leoric at 15. And, I mean, typically the newer-ish heroes are further down on this list because they're a little more high skill cap and all that. So I was kind of surprised to see Lunara at 7. I mean, I guess she's been out for a while now, but, I mean, she's still... I don't really know what spot she's in at this point, but she is kind of hard to pull off at times. I'll say that much. And for her to be at account level 7, I got to think for really low-level players, they're running into some pretty bad Lunaras, would be my guess.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I don't think this is I think this is the second time she's been on the free hero already, so... which is pretty surprising considering the Vikings have only been on twice.
Right, ever.
But
It's okay. They don't ever have to be on again.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't care
we got him
anymore.
at 5.
I don't
It's
care.
it's a decent hero rotation, I guess. It's not as strong as last week. Last week was super strong, and I mean this one's still good too. Stitches has been tearing it up. Lework's still good. Lunara I've been enjoying her. And Diablo, been seeing some Nazebo. So maybe I'll play him some more this week. I haven't played him in a while, and he's still. They nerfed that spider build, but honestly, it barely affected him. He still pulls insane
horrible.
numbers.
You can even still take the spider build. It's still
I
good.
know. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Still fine.
And I still prefer Gargantuan over the Slappy Ghost.
Yes.
But, dude, that thing just wrecks. But we got some news yesterday. Some exciting news. Zool is getting ready to enter the Nexus. He's going to be coming this next week. And I know some people were thinking he may have come this week because that's the 3 weeks. But in fact, it's next week. So they're still keeping within their 3 or 4 week time window that they were hoping for. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm super duper excited for him.
Oh, way pumped.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Smash.
For sure.
You don't play a ton of specialists, but are you gonna check them out?
Oh, definitely. And actually, the one thing that actually has me pretty intrigued about him is they said that he's going to be able to out-bully Zagara in lane, supposedly. So, and I love Zagara. She is the one specialist I play probably more than all the others. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's some pretty substantial lane presence potential. So excited to see how he pans out.
Well, yeah, and that's huge because I know when like on my team league nights and stuff, one of the things we struggle with is finding if we don't get Zagara, deciding who and what hero they're going to play to go down and deal with Zagara, because there's not many that there's heroes that can deal with her, but there's not really anyone out there who can or overpower her unless they're a phenomenal player and it's a bad Zagara.
Thrall's basically her lane counter.
Yeah,
right?
but
there's not many.
Thrall, Zagara are your big solo laners, and that's it.
Yes.
So having an extra solo laner that can pull off some crazy stuff come in is nothing but good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even the downside of Thrall, he's not super great at dealing with the creep. So even while he can, withstand the pushing power, it's just
You got a wolf.
yeah,
Greg,
but
you got a wolf.
that's wasting a lot of mana, and it's not as effective as clearing the creep as a lot of other things. I like Rehgod. Rehgod is really good at clearing it with his lightning shield now, which we're going to be going over later. So there's that. Multi, are you pumped for some Zool?
Oh, so pumped. And I don't know, are we going to go over the Technobubble article on it here?
We can do that. And how about,
Yeah.
I know you've been super pumped for him, so I'll let you take that up.
Yeah, so this article came out on rgj.com. We'll have a link in the show notes for you guys if you haven't seen it. But it's just a quick 15 questions with Blizzard about Heroes of the Storm's Zool. And it's really pretty in-depth. They already have, of course, his basic abilities laid out, heroic abilities, all that stuff. Then they just launch into the talents. They don't really give you a ton of numbers on these, but certainly the breakdown of each tier, kind of a general idea of what they do, that sort of thing. And then, they go on to some developer notes as well, just talking about how he felt and certain things they changed. They did point out that they actually cut the blood golem, which was actually, that was the first thing when I started thinking about how a necromancer should be in Heroes of the Storm. I immediately thought of the golem pets that they had.
Yeah.
But, they just said that they tried it as a heroic and then took it out because Blood Golem was great, but it strongly went against their design goal of bringing Necromancer into the Nexus with little visual clutter. So I guess I get that, but the golems would have been super cool.
Yeah. And, it's... I don't know. It's still going to be just a insane build. But let's take a little guess here. What heroic ability do you guys see taking the number one spot here? Multi, we'll start with you.
Oh, man. I just have to see how Poison Nova works to really be able to make that call. It certainly sounds more exciting. And the way Dustin Browder's described it, by saying that it kind of feels like Zagara's Maw and that it can be an absolute game changer if you get the right one off. It seems like he's going to have the just general survivability and stuff with his bone armor to get in and land these on a decent amount of group, especially if you pop out of a bush or something and really get the jump on a comp. So I got to think that's it still. Skeleton Mages sounds okay, but I'm really... I think it's going to be Poison Nova. No question.
I'm kind of along the same line. Well, I've seen like little videos of the Poison Nova, and it seems awesome. And the Skeletal Mages sounds awesome to me, but that's the one I really need to see how it works before I can make a decision on that. But they both sound cool. TBK, what about you?
I like the Skeletal Mages, honestly. Because when the guy first came out, I thought it was going to be like this wall of Skeletal Mages that if you like walk through them or something, it would slow you down. But when the actual description came out, it's four Skeletal Mages in a line that attack nearby enemies and slow them by 30%. And I assume it's reapplied whenever they get attacked again.
Yeah, it's like having
And that's
4
four.
Janas.
So yeah, so my thinking is if each of the skeletal mages, and it all depends on the AI, right? If they each attack different targets, that could be pretty insane as far as really crippling the enemy team. Or if they just attack, they all attack like the closest one or something, that might not be quite as useful, even if it does give a little extra burst. Or that would allow the enemy to counterplay. It's just like, all right, the tank just stands a little bit closer to the skeletal mages and everybody else is okay. So that's what I'm interested to find out, and how that ability actually works. Because if the AI is awesome, I think that could be a really cool ability. But if not, most people will probably go Poison Nova.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna kind of depend on the health pool of the skeletons too. It's gonna be.
Are they even targetable?
I believe they are.
That's what I
It says
wonder.
lasts up to 15 seconds, which makes me think they can be taken out.
Made me killed massively.
Which, it's, give them too much health, it's going to be insane, but give them too little health, and it's going to be useless.
Yeah, then like a Kael'thas throws a Flame Strike on them, and if it like Flame Strike, they're gone. Then
Yeah.
that's pretty worthless.
So it's going to... I don't know. We'll see when it comes out, because I think that will be a really hard balance to hit. And who knows, maybe if they're not able to hit it, they would just make it to where it lasts for a certain period, but not 15 seconds, because that would be insane. But yeah, it's really cool. And from my understanding, when it comes out it's kind of like casting Tassidar's Force Wall.
The Force Wall, yeah.
So, which can be kind of difficult, but I doubt, the placement of this doesn't seem as important as the Force Wall, since they're attacking ranged anyways. But Pat, what about you? What do you think is going to take the top spot as far as these two abilities?
I think it's pretty hard to say at this point, but if I had to lean towards one, I'd probably Poison Nova. And the reason I say that is just because the prevalence of, the Wabo combos right now. Jaina's real popular again because, KT fell back, and, if people don't get Ming, they're usually playing Jaina. So I feel like that's going to synergize well. And then also just seeing a lot of Diablo and ETC play. I feel like that ult is going to synergize well with those. But we'll wait and see. It could kind of go both ways. So
Yeah, absolutely. And man, speaking of KT falling, he fell harder than I think
He
we
has.
expected. I know Mick, during the Heroes Charity Brawl, which we'll talk about in a minute, was playing him, and he said he was not having a good time. He was feeling a little rough. And I don't know. But, and again, he's supposed to be getting a talent rework, so we'll see how that is when that comes out. But this article that we're just talking about has a lot of good information. Again, that will be in our notes, so you guys can check that out. TBK, what do we got going on as far as tournaments and in the competitive scene?
So Heroes of the Dorm has started. The online signups are done, and the online qualifier is now ongoing, February 20th through March 6th. All eligible teams are entered into the 3-week qualifier. Matches are online only, double elimination, and you're trying to climb to the top of your region for a spot in that 64-team bracket. So the last I looked at the big bracket, it's the round of 256. So there's a lot of teams, a lot of college teams signed up, a lot of people wanting that free tuition, which is cool. So once they battle that out over this next 3 weeks, March 19th through April 3rd is going to be the bracket play. And that's when the heroesofthedorm.com site will open up. You can fill out like your fantasy bracket and then see how the teams end up doing and how close you got. And the best brackets and then random brackets in the best brackets will actually win prizes and stuff too, which is really cool. And then April 9th and 10th, live 2-day event on ESPN2 featuring the Final Four, and you'll be able to watch live, of course, or go in person and somewhere. They have not announced where live in person, so I hope they do that soon, seeing as it's like a month and a half away.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising they haven't done that yet.
It's just like
people want to
for
get
the
their
people
travel
who wanna
plans.
Go, yeah,
Right.
Like really, you need at least several weeks for travel plans, if not more, for a lot of people, because a lot of people working, got to schedule vacations and stuff, and a lot of times you have to get those in, several weeks ahead of time.
And
so I hope
each
hope
week
they announce
that
it soon.
Goes by, those plane tickets are getting more and more pricey.
Ooh, yeah.
So
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. So that's a bit annoying, but what can you do?
Maybe it's a conspiracy with the airlines. like they're intentionally doing it to raise the prices because people will go anyway.
They're raising the prices because the chemicals for the chemtrails are the price is going up. I'm kidding.
Chemtrails, man.
Kidding. No,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
We're not even getting into any of that on this show.
Oh, God.
But if you guys want to talk about that, follow our podcast, Chemtrails of the Sky. Just kidding.
It's not a thing.
Anyways.
Maybe it should be. I don't know.
So, in the really, really big news, though, this Saturday and Sunday is the spring regionals in Los Angeles. The top 8 teams are going to be duking it out for a $100,000 prize pool, and the 2 top spots going to the Spring World Championships in Korea, which is super awesome. So your 8 teams, Team Nam, King of Blades Alpha, Panda Global, Team Blaze, Tempo Storm, Cognitive Gaming, Cloud9, and the newly sponsored Bob Ross Fan Club as now Team Naventic.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, if you guys have never heard of them, it's because they're new, not because they're just
brand
some
new.
like team no one's ever heard of that picked them up. They're a new team, so this is a good thing. This is actually really good to see.
Yep, brand new
sponsors coming up.
esports to the scene. First team
Nice.
they signed, so they've obviously got some money behind them, or Bob Ross probably would not have signed with them.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm glad they got picked up. I believe the only Team Blaze, Kings of Blade Alpha, and Team Nam are now the only 3 in the top 8 that are not sponsored by somebody. So I expect, depending on how stuff goes, that some of them will probably pick up sponsorships as well. So you can watch that this weekend on twitch.tv/BlizzHeroes. It starts both days 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you have linked your Battle.net account with your Twitch, you will get a cool 2016 Spring Regionals portrait in-game. So that's cool. But yeah, I'm super excited. They just announced the stuff. Anna Robinson's hosting, and Jake, Zoya, Gilly, and Dreadnought will be casting. So I'm super excited that Dreadnought is getting some big time casting. He's a absolutely fantastic analyst. If you've seen any of his stuff recently, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and we aren't planning on saying, but Gilly was going to join us tonight, but she has to wake up early tomorrow to catch Plane Out There, which is fine and super awesome for her. So hopefully we'll have her on here sometime in the near future, but super excited for that tournament this weekend. So
I got my pizza rolls.
Yeah.
Got my tater tots.
Nice.
Oh man,
I got some Mountain Dew.
That is literally all you need ever.
The crap out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna esports the crap out of it this weekend. I got my phone. I'm gonna have to hook it to a charger because I'm gonna be tweeting so much. It's gonna be insane. I'm so excited.
So we're gonna see your name pop up like 20 million times.
Possibly. I don't know.
Good.
It all depends who does that.
Interesting point about this though. So this isn't in front of a live audience, correct?
No.
This is just
This
full
is at
on.
the ESL studios in Burbank. No live.
Which is cool, but is that a little awkward? I'm gonna miss my crowds cheering.
Yeah, I mean, there was a huge controversy, and if you listen to any of the other Heroes podcasts, a few podcasts have covered it fairly in depth, with a little bit of salt here and there. But it's one of those things. This is only really the second competitive season of Heroes, and last year was only kind of a half year anyways. And so we're going to get several live events. I mean, the spring regionals will be live. The BlizzCon, whatever they probably do for that, is going to be live. And I'm sure the summer regionals or the summer worlds will be live as well. So we're going to get several live. And Heroes of the Dorm. Heroes of the Dorm is going to be live too. So we're going to get several live events this year. I mean, I assume it's just a cost ratio to number of events type thing. I think as we grow, we'll see more live events, but I think, 3 or 4 big live events is pretty dang good for basically the first whole year that Heroes is out.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wish, since they're already doing it in California anyways, they would have just done it at the Esports Arena again, because that was a really cool place. I mean, it's a smaller venue, but
I agree.
It's also, I feel, since ESL is kind of hosting it, it could have been something to do with that as well. Them not
I'd
wanting
say
to-
it's most
to show that.
definitely something to do with
So
that.
yeah, so I don't know.
Well-
It's still all right. I wouldn't have been watching it live anyways. I mean, sure, it's cool to get the crowd reactions and stuff, but at the same time, sometimes depending on the production, there's been mistakes before to where they're panning out to the crowd too much, or the crowd noise is too high in some points. So it'll be a nice way to just be able to concentrate on the matches, the casting, and yeah.
That's true.
I'm sure it'll be really good.
Well, and I believe don't like they have some kind of deal with ESL too. Like once that expires, I think they're talking about how that's going to switch over to MLG.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh yeah, because they own
bought
MLG now.
MLG.
Well,
Right.
they bought the assets from MLG.
They
So what's that-
pwned MLG.
Yeah.
Just pwned them.
tryhards.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it was a multi-year contract with ESL they've got going for stuff. So I assume when that runs out, they'll probably now, especially owning MLG stuff, they own Tespa and whatnot as well. They'll probably do their own thing eventually, but right now it's ESL stuff. So ESL is probably calling the shots in some ways.
Which is good because Heroes is still growing. ESL is an established
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
completely.
I don't know, partnership or whatever. So it's good for Blizzard and stuff as Heroes still trying to grow in the MOBA scene. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's growing at the rate that it should. I know everybody's super excited that it's becoming, bigger in esports, and we all want live events for everything. But, it's growing at the pace that it should, and I feel like, in future years, it's just going to be more and more live events, and it's going to get even bigger. So you got to let it develop at its own pace, but...
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so, lastly, and this was really exciting, we wanted to talk just a short bit about the Heroes Charity Brawl that went on this last Saturday. Guys, the Blizz Heroes community is so awesome. I know a lot of our listeners personally donated as well. We raised $2,701 for Make-A-Wish. How
mad props.
cool is that?
That's
Mad
amazing.
props to the guy who did that final dollar as well.
Yeah.
Thumbs
Blake
up to you.
Gerstenberger, you and your messing up even numbers.
I mean, it's insane because our goal was $1,000 and we hit that before the stream even went up. And then in the
Yeah.
next 3 hours, we raised $1,700 more. And it was insane. The matches were crazy. They were all fairly close except for the ARAM because my team got screwed on the draft. That was so dumb. But they were all a lot more fun than I was expecting too. The speed mines was super
Mines was
fast,
so
but
close.
super
That was
close.
intense.
And I'm gonna go ahead and take the blame on the loss on that because I ran out of mana. I picked a really dumb talent because I didn't know it was gonna go that fast, and I ran out of mana after we got the towers down for the keep. And so if I still had mana, I think we would have held you guys off. But
Don't know.
I think the
I don't know about
doubloons was probably my favorite match because that was super
It was so
intense.
close, and then Multi landed the clutch maw.
Yeah, you guys kept
yes.
running away
Beautiful.
the entire match every time
I
we would
know.
start to engage.
They-
Like, dang it.
We could not engage on them. It was so horrible. And I want to go ahead and mention that if you want to see the VOD of this, you can go to twitch.tv/frogpants_Scott.
Is it on his? I
They-
know it's on the Core Heroes page as well.
Yes. And so he's got the VOD of it. It's actually super, super fun just to watch. Had many late nights coming up with some of those game modes, and it ended up working out. The whole thing ended up going off really smooth, and it was a ton of fun. Everyone got to play together. It was for a really good cause, and we're probably going to do it again.
Oh yeah,
Oh, definitely.
Mick
It was
even
awesome.
tweeted out today. It's number 2's in the making right now, so we don't know when that'll be. Probably we're going to take a little bit of a break, digest it all, and get things going again. But yeah,
I gotta say though, so if you go back and watch the VODs, which you should, they're really fun games. Just spoiler alert on this one: if I'm on the team, that team wins because I went undefeated.
yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I think it's funny because I don't think Kyle and Garrett were on the same team one time. Garrett and I were on the same team
really?
throughout the night. And
They were once.
every time, especially the raid boss match, I was yelling a lot at
Oh, really?
Kyle, and everyone thought it was Garrett. So apparently Garrett and I sound alike, which I don't think is the case, but I don't know. It was fun. So just, shout out to the core, Into the Nexus, and Stormcast for
Yeah.
doing that with us. And
It was a lot of
So
fun.
much fun.
I think the raid boss match ended up being my favorite.
who thought
You
it was going
guys-
to come out that
intense.
way too? Who thought
Yeah,
that's how
it
it was
was
going to end?
so. It was technically set up for the raid boss team to lose.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have
Well-
any healers or anything like that, and so it was super close at the end, but we managed to pull it off.
Yeah,
It was pretty crazy.
I think it was the perfect map for it because, that's all
was.
about control, and with Cho'Gall and stuff and all
Yep.
those warriors. I think on any other map it wouldn't have been close. So it's great that we did it on that one. And it was
The reason
awesome,
we
but-
did it on that one was because that map, the Towers of Doom, tends to really bring out a lot of good team fights.
Yeah.
So we wanted to
Right.
get like that raidy type feel of the raid team coming in and fighting the raid bosses. Maybe next time you guys should set it on like heroic instead of mythic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, right.
That was my worst match by far because dang it, Kyle. On Illidan, every time I would get him down, he'd run off and then hunt me, and it's a dead thrall. But actually, one other piece of news that we just happened today that we didn't put in the notes: Resurgence is apparently no more.
Yeah. No more.
Yep.
So we
It's a
will,
shame.
yeah, and we'll keep up
Shame.
on that. See where those guys go. But yeah, so they're done for now, and we'll keep you guys updated. Before we hop into the hero, we just want to take this time to thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm. This week we wanted to thank Sensei, and then I also get to do this again. You have been deemed worthy of bearing the Zord title. Welcome to the Zord Lords. Yes. And that's perfect because we're getting ready to go to church for the Church of Rehgod soon. But we want to thank Enryu Zord. And then we also want to give a special thanks to Dylan Ireland, who just made a donation to our PayPal and blew our minds. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, you guys still continuing week in, week out to blow
And
our
Sensei.
minds. And Sensei. I think Sensei before the thing.
Oh, you thanked him beforehand.
But yes,
I'm not paying attention. Apparently.
let's go ahead and hop into
Hero of the Week.
All right, it's Rhaegar week. We've wanted to do them the past couple weeks, but we've been holding off because he's been getting tweaked down because he is Rhaegod right now. And if you guys haven't seen that music video, The Church of Rhaegar, I suggest you check it out. It's excellent. But he has just been dominating as of late. I know he went up like 13.8% on the win rate and was just dominating the charts. He went down a little
Been
bit.
toned down a bit.
Yeah.
This is the first week in 4 or 5 weeks that we haven't had a balance patch.
Well,
Crazy.
Oh my gosh, we didn't have one
Yeah.
today. I just realized
No,
that.
we didn't.
Right.
We didn't have one today. And I bet you anything it's because regionals are this weekend. I bet they thought it was important enough. And I mean they've done a lot of good stuff too the last few weeks, toning things back. There's a few characters that are still fairly strong, but not to the insane levels that they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I can't believe I didn't realize that didn't happen this week. But we expect maybe he will still see some changes because again, I know Li Ming topped him on the win percentage for like a day, and then he took the spot back. I haven't checked in the past couple days. I don't know if he's still on top. I would assume he is.
He still
He
probably
is,
needs a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, definitely. He's
I-
still just a force.
I
on the
wouldn't.
battlefield.
I don't know if we'll see him this weekend. He might just get banned out
Yeah,
all
possibly.
weekend. But let's go ahead and I guess mention he is the Shaman of the Earthen Ring, World of Warcraft hero, and I actually didn't know much about Rhaegar until, I don't know, about a year ago. I started going back and getting some of the World of Warcraft comics, and he's actually the guy who he captured Varian Ran after Varian washed up on the beach and almost got eaten by a crocolisk, I think, something like that, and turned him into a gladiator, and then later on released him. But yeah, Rhaegar was a gladiator trainer, trained Varian, and where's the blood elf rogue?
Valera?
The Valera, I believe,
Valera,
was
yeah.
also in there. But yeah,
And he's from the comics, right?
yes. Oh, is that where he originated?
I believe so.
Wow. Okay. So yeah,
Maybe.
but
I know he has a sweet action figure.
Yes, he does.
interesting. I have not gotten any.
If
action
you have not
figures.
looked this up, he's got an incredible looking. It's like one of the really high quality, like big ones, like the.
Oh, like the company that did Nova and Illidan stuff?
Yeah,
with one?
yeah. I think it's the same company, or it looks similar, like build quality, but it's
It's
pretty
not really a toy. It's like an actual model. It's pretty awesome.
I have stayed away from that stuff because that would be a very dangerous path for me
It's
to
a
go
it's
down,
a it's a
collecting
deep
that.
dark money pit, Greg.
Yes, that's why I went with the comics. Comics are cheap.
Yep.
You can do that.
Comics are cheap.
But let's go ahead and hop into his kit. Smash. Almost said stomp. That's never going to be easy for me, and I don't know why.
Come on.
What do we got for his trait?
All right, so his trait is Ghost Wolf, and basically instead of using a mount, you transform into a Ghost Wolf with 30% increased movement speed, which is extremely useful, and just I feel like it's one of the best traits in the game. But also, to mention, your basic attacks in Ghost Wolf form cause you to lunge at targets and deal 75% bonus damage. And also, anytime you deal damage with that, it cancels it, but it's a wonderful chasing ability and just a great ability, period. So.
Yeah, it's what is it, like a 3-4 second cooldown? Something. I think it's probably
Yeah,
the same
something
as
like that.
mounting. But this is something, and when I first started playing Rhaegar was when I was still new to MOBAs and stuff, and I couldn't just get this through my head. But like one of the most important things you can do on him is you're mounted up or hit that Z whenever possible, even if you're just clearing lanes or attacking someone because of that bonus damage. You just want to hit that and then attack to get that bonus damage and kind of keep tapping it. It's not as fast as mounts, but again, in combat situations, you're going to outrun everybody. They're not going to be able to mount up to escape you, and that lunge, which is now built into the kit, that used to be a talent, is insane.
Yeah, that was a huge buff to that trait.
Oh, yes.
That built-in lunge, because it allows you to catch people so much easier. And now, whenever you wolf, you lunge, you attack, bonus damage, slowing totem. I mean, it's a pretty wicked combo.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you find yourself solo laning and all of a sudden a Rhaegar comes, it's very scary because it's hard to get away from him. Let's go to his basic abilities, though. Multi, what do we got for his Q?
Q is Chain Heal. It's a good old Shaman classic on a 9-second cooldown, which is pretty short. Heal an ally for 386.88 plus 4% per level health, and then heal up to 2 other nearby allies for 193.44 plus 4% health each. So, I mean, it's one of the more instant heals, which is always nice, especially nowadays when there's so many bursty characters out there. Talk about these mages, although, well, maybe we should just subtract Kael'thas from that equation at this point. But with Li Ming in the game and stuff, I feel like a lot of times the Malfurion heals aren't necessarily doing it over time. You need that kind of burst, and Rhaegar definitely brings it.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that it heals multiple targets, that it's sweet, and especially later on, holy cow, it's pretty insane. It's a somewhat of a lengthy heal or timer, I guess, but it's not bad.
During his kit rework, this was actually one of the biggest things that got changed, because the base heal of this was buffed quite a lot. And so you almost, and I mean, we'll talk about it a little more, but you used to really have to take 1 or 2 of the chain heal talents to make it good before, and you really don't anymore. Like, this is a very solid heal without anything attached to it.
There's still one talent that I do take every time because it's insane, and I'll mention it later. But yes, TBK, what do we got for his W?
His W is Lightning Shield, 60 mana cost with an 8-second cooldown. Imbue an ally with lightning, dealing 62.4 plus 4% per level damage, a second to nearby enemies, and it lasts for 5 seconds.
Yep, and with your talents pretty much starting right off the bat, especially on this build, that thing is insane. Great for
awesome.
lane clearing,
So awesome.
for team fights, everything. It's just a super solid ability. And then for his E, we have Earthbind Totem, which is another super solid ability. Create a totem that slows nearby enemies by 35%. The totem has 225 plus 4% per level health and lasts for 8 seconds. So a really nice slow. But let's go ahead and hop into the heroic abilities. Smash, what do we got for his first?
So for his first heroic ability, we have Bloodlust, which is 125 mana cost, cooldown of 90 seconds, and it grants nearby allied heroes 40% attack speed and 30% movement speed. Lasts for 10 seconds.
Yeah, and that is bloodlust, Greg, not heroism or whatever you allies call it.
Yeah.
We still call it Bloodlust
Gross.
too. So
Yeah.
let's be real. And this is also Swift's favorite heroic
That's
ability
true.
ever.
He may be the only one
Unfortunately.
that's used it.
I tried the changes they made, especially the level 20 thing's cool. And, if you're just kicking butt, it's fun to take, but it's still just, this next one's insane, which is what, Multi?
Ancestral Healing. And by this point, you probably know what this is if you've seen any games recently or ever. It is his other ult on an 80-second cooldown. After 1 second, you heal an allied hero for 1,614.08. I don't know why the 0.08, but plus 4% per level health. And by this point, again, we've probably all seen this go off. It does take a little bit of timing still. Obviously, you ideally want to cast it on someone when they're low enough to where you'd get the full value out of it. But, I mean, much like Karazim's Divine Palm, you don't want to mistime it either because you could just end up with a dead person you're trying to heal with a giant heal. So definitely some skill cap to it. We've talked before about how those two, although the ults feel similar, they play so differently that to switch between Karazim and Rehgod often would probably be just this complete just mind melt because you'd have to reprogram yourself every time you're getting this off. So, but anyway, it's really cool, and Bloodlust sounds fun, but personally, I don't see any reason to never take this because it's just that good.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the things I struggled with when Karazim first came out. But it was actually good for me because I was always so bad at getting the ancestral healing off that I was late. So Divine Palm was perfect for me. But now I'm
Resonated with you better.
Yeah, now I'm the opposite though. It's not hard to get off. You just gotta be prepared for it. Be aware of the team you're going against, what kind of burst damage they have and stuff. Let's go ahead and hop into the build though. And
I need to just qualify this. This is just a build. This is one of his builds. He has lots of viable talents. He does. The rework was absolutely fantastic. They did a great job. The build we're going to go over is the Lightning Shield build. It is, even with a few of the nerfs lately, it is still incredibly strong, but it is a much more aggressive Rehgod build. You can definitely build him a little more passive, a little more healy, but this is definitely more of a in-your-face type Rehgod build. So qualified ahead of time.
Yeah, and he's one of the heroes right now that it's not detrimental if you don't follow like a build specifically. He can switch things in and out because all of his talents are so good. It doesn't mess with him at all, which is why he is so strong right now, and I think that's what Blizzard's wanting to be able to do these with builds.
It can be very situational depending on team comp you're against, depending on the map, or even depending on how the game flow is going at any given level.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could be going the lightning build, and then all of a sudden, hey, I need some more heals, bam, and you're still just as strong as ever. So, and I'm sure we'll point out some other talents just because there are so many good ones right now. But what are we going with for level 1, TBK?
So level 1, we're going with Electric Charge, and this increases the radius of your lightning shield by 33%, which is gigantic. Like, and the lightning balls become bigger too, which is really cool. So he becomes even more intimidating as you see a ghost wolf running at you with giant lightning circles around him.
Yeah.
It's scary.
And especially if it's on Cho'Gall, then it's ginormous and really frightening. But it's really good. Makes it harder for heroes to escape from you and stuff, and can just do.
Yeah, you can definitely
more
get
AoE.
off a few extra hits as you're chasing people, and it really helps you clear those just creep waves faster.
Yeah, and well, one of the talents I still think goes with the lightning build is the other lightning talent, just called Lightning Bond. Casting lightning shield on an ally also casts an untalented version on you, which is also great for wave clearing because you can pop down your totem, throw a lightning shield on that, and then there's one on that and you, so the waves melt, which is kind of nice. But we'll go to level 4, and for this we are going with Stormcaller. This reduces lightning shield's mana cost from 60 to 35 and increases the duration by 2 seconds. This is really big because it does cost quite a bit of mana, so you're almost cutting it in half now. And increasing the duration, so you can. Did this get nerfed, or can you still have it pretty much up all the time?
It's within 1 second
Yeah.
of 100% uptime,
Pretty much
which
all
is
the time.
absolutely insane.
So
Especially
And costing
with
less
like you
mana.
said, with the mana cost reduction, you're not afraid to cast it near as much anymore. It's almost insignificant. So it's a pretty big deal.
yeah, not to say you want to be casting it on yourself as you're switching lanes for no reason, but in team fights, keep it up the whole
Got
time.
to have that
Anyway,
100%
yeah.
uptime.
I just want to see the big balls flying around in my face.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly.
Getting a little weird.
Well, there's no D joke, so we have to make a ball joke.
That's true.
Pat, Smash, what are we going with for level 7?
So for this build, it's kind of between Farsight and Blood and Thunder, which if you've never used Farsight before, it basically reveals an area for 10 seconds as you activate it. Enemies in the area are revealed for 4 seconds, and then Blood and Thunder, Ghost Wolf attacks reduce basic ability cooldowns by 2 seconds. So it really just kind of depends on, obviously if they're stealthies or if it's a bigger map where vision is even more important. I mean, vision is always important, but you might want to opt for something like Farsight. But also, if you're playing an aggressive playstyle, you're getting up there more, and you're able to get more off of those Ghost Wolf attacks. Blood and Thunder may be the way to go. And also shout out to Cleanse, which is my favorite ability or talent in the game. There's so many usefulness there, but this is kind of a hard talent tier because there's so many good options. But
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, Farsight, I actually haven't taken on him. Does it activate where he is at? Or is it one where you can choose the location?
Choose the
That
location,
one-
I believe.
Yeah, you choose the
Okay,
location.
so like the drone
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's you see a lot more pro players take it, just like because Smash said vision is so important, especially in pro games. So you see that a lot. It can be a very good Zeratul or Nova counter as well, since
Yeah.
it does reveal those stealthies. But I mean, it was hard to pick. That whole level 7 talent tier, like Smash said, is just fantastic. And I mean, you could even take Totemic Projection, which reactivating your Earthbind totem moves an existing totem to a new location once. So you could throw down a totem, get some attacks off, feral leap to the person, and then throw down that same totem again to continue slowing them.
Yeah.
So it's if you wanted to do more of an aggressive chase type build.
and also good for escaping too. If you're trying to get away, you can just reposition it. It gives you that much more time to escape. So
Yep,
that's
for sure.
definitely an interesting talent.
Speaking of vision, though, Cho'Gall's vision talent, or Gall's vision talent at level 1 is absolutely insane. If you guys,
It's pretty awesome
it's
now.
having 4 charges of a huge freaking sight aura or whatever that you can cast is amazing.
It used to suck.
Yeah.
And because it used to be on a tier that you always took a different one, but since they switched a bunch of his stuff around for level 1, it's super strong now.
Yeah, it's really good. Multi, what are we going with for his ult, level 10?
Oh, I think I mentioned this briefly already, but we are definitely going with ancestral healing. Ancestral healing, for sure. And again, same reasons mentioned before. It's just that good.
Yes, yes, it is. And, if you have a duo support with a Karazim or something, you can try Bloodlust. However, Divine Palm is as good as it is. It is not always, it doesn't always go off, and it can be kind of wonky. So,
Of the two in that scenario, I'd be more likely to take
Seven Side Strike.
Seven Side
Yeah,
Strike.
exactly. But if you wanted to try it out, because it is cool.
I mean,
especially
it all
with 20.
depends on team comp,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you really don't get the chance to use Bloodlust much unless you have at least another support, or at least another half support in the form of, say, Tyrande or Tassadar, maybe. You can get away with it depending on skill level and stuff, but in normal circumstances, you'd want at least another half support, if not another whole support. But if you have a very strong auto attack team, Bloodlust is basically a stim drone for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
So
if you're
you can
if you're
melt.
quick batching in and you queue up and it's just you and 4 ranged auto attackers, then yeah, maybe you could
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, there's definitely situations, and once we get to level 20, they added a brand new Bloodlust talent, which is
That is true.
absolutely bonkers. But you just don't see it much because you don't see Bloodlust much.
Yeah. So level 13 here, we are going to be going with Earth Shield. Lightning Shield gives a shield that absorbs damage equal to 15% of their maximum health for 3 seconds. This is huge, especially on tanks, and Cho'Gall for sure. He gets a lot of health.
Broken.
But yeah,
So dumb.
it's not
So crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. The other talent I like taking here is just because it's kind of like a mini ancestral healing. Is just the Earth Living enchant, which when Chain Heal heals a hero below 50% health, they're healed an additional 208 over 5 seconds, which if your entire team's pretty low in a fight, that can change things around pretty quick. It heals a lot.
And does this work on the splashing heals as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you get
So,
that full value on everyone that gets healed by it? The full
The
208?
208 as far as I'm aware. I mean, I haven't checked numbers, but I've noticed only if they're below
Huge
50 per
difference.
health, just not if just
Sure,
the
sure.
initial target's below 50. But yeah, that the shield, if you got a good front line and stuff, just makes it it's insane. 15% health is a lot depending on the hero.
But not only that, on an 8-second cooldown. That's the thing that
Yeah.
makes this talent
Right.
so ridiculous. Because, say, Karazim, his level 4, you can talent into Protective Shield. That does basically the same thing this does on a 45-second cooldown. And this one not only gives you the shield, it does damage at the same time. That's why we're seeing this talent, like the pick rate for this talent has just skyrocketed, just because it's so much value for really so little cost, especially if you went into that Stormcaller with the mana decrease.
Let's go to level 16 though. TPK, what are we going with here?
So here we're going to go Rising Storm, and this is a talent that got nerfed last balance patch, I think. Every time Lightning Shield damages an enemy hero, it increases the Lightning Shield damage by 10%, and that stacks up to 20 times. So it used to only need to stack 10 times.
Yeah, they just
And it would go
flip-flopped
up
the number. It used to be
20%. Yep.
exactly. So
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's still quite good, especially if you have a lot of melee, like a Thrall, like a Sonya, or even just a tank that's going to be in the thick of everything, hitting multiple heroes at a time. That thing will ramp up real quick.
And I don't remember if this was a bug or not, but if you're going Blood and Thunder, where your ability cooldowns are reduced by 2 seconds, that meaning you can cast your Lightning Shield again before it runs out.
Technically, yes.
Does it still, if you recast it, does it keep it stacks as long as it doesn't run out, or does it reset?
It's a per Lightning Shield thing.
Okay,
So it
because I know
resets every
before,
time.
before I know there was a time where you could do that and it wouldn't reset. So I think they actually changed that, like the first patch after it came out, fixed it. Or
So
it
now
might
they
not
have the
even.
full value out
I
of it.
believe it's a per Lightning Shield.
Yeah,
stack.
and it may have not even been a balance patch that they changed that. They may have changed it just a couple days after. But regardless, a good talent, a lot of damage, and it also goes well with whether you went with Lightning Bond or Electric Charge at level 1. Actually, I guess like Lightning Bond, you don't get a talented version. So
No, just the electric charge will help it because it'll allow you to hit more people since it does have that wider radius.
yeah,
I will shout out to if you don't have a lot of CC on your team, Earthgrass Totem can actually be pretty decent. When
yeah.
Earthbind Totem is first cast, it slows nearby enemies by 90% for 1.5 seconds, which is basically a root.
yeah.
Close
Yeah,
enough.
especially when
Close
you
enough.
you know lunge in, pop that, they're basically stuck there for a second. Which
Didn't it used to
1.5
be? Sorry, I didn't
It
mean to
did.
interrupt. Yeah, it was a root at one point.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the exact same as Chen's flying kick, the talent you could take to do the root. They changed that to a 90% slow instead, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the patch they took a lot of those kinds of things out.
Yep.
Exactly.
And then even Hunger of the Wolf is a good talent, where Ghost Wolf attacks against heroes deal an additional 5% of the target's maximum health and heal you for 5%. That's another just really solid talent tier. But let's go to the Storm talent tier, level 20. Smash, what are we going with here?
So for this particular build, we're kind of floating between Storm Shield and Rewind. And Storm Shield, you activate it to give all nearby allied heroes a shield for 20% of their max health for 3 seconds. And then Rewind essentially activates, when you activate it, resets the cooldown of your basic abilities. I tend to opt for Storm Shield just because having a shield on your whole team at the right time is so beneficial in a team fight. There's not only a team fight when you're on the core and you need that extra damage mitigation to finish the game. There's so much utility behind Storm Shield, but I know a lot of people, also prefer Rewind. It's just kind of based on your play style. But as far as if you're going for more, support Rehgod style, Storm Shield's, in my opinion, the way to go.
Yeah. They just both bring different things to the table, kind of, like Pat said, go whichever your play style is. But let's go over to Heroes Counters, which I remembered to pull up 2 seconds ago, to discuss some strengths, weaknesses, and synergies. For some strengths, we got Zeratul, Nova. They're all Falstad and Jaina in our top 5. And, the stealthy is for multiple reasons. That Farsight talent you can get. He can chase people down, keep them out of stealth. His lightning shield keeps them out of stealth. He can slow them. He can pretty much out-heal their burst damage. The list goes on against the stealthies. And then Falstad and Thrall, I don't know specific reasons. Do you guys have anything?
Currently, if you talent him right, Rehgod can 1v1 Thrall.
Which is crazy because Thrall's known for being able to 1v1 people.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Shaman v Shaman action right there.
It is. Orc v Orc action.
Yeah, both Orc
Crazy.
Shamans. Let's point that out. That's weird. Why not change it up a little?
Battle of so I guess Thrall's a baby back B compared to Rehgod. Then he just gets I don't know.
And I believe at one time, I know Thrall's kit before he was released had a bunch of different changes, but I think at one point he actually had, he has Chain Lightning, but I believe he did have some type of Lightning Shield or Earth Shield, so it's kind of funny how they ended up.
Yeah, they said his build was
developing it.
originally it was either his build was originally Rhaegar's or Rhaegar's was originally Thrall's.
I think Rehgod's
Right.
was originally Thrall's.
Yeah.
And then they
Okay.
decided to take him into a more damage-oriented direction, and in the damage-oriented shaman-y direction instead of the healing direction.
Yeah. Let's go some weaknesses though, Multi. What do we got?
Oh, he's apparently weak against Raynor, Sonya, Sylvanas, Kerrigan, and Zeratul as the top 5. And, some of these I see Raynor being the top of this list, though. I'm just not so sure about. I don't know. Smash, you've played a ton of Raynor in your time. Do you think he's even in that good of a place right now?
He's in an okay place. I think it's interesting that he's listed as number 1 because I'm guessing they're kind of saying that on the same lines with Kerrigan, because if you are playing Rhaegar, you tend to be more on the front line if you're hopping in, as opposed to someone like Medic or Malfurion who's staying more in the back line. And if you do hop in, you do kind of open yourself up to some of those assassins. So, Raynor, it's kind of interesting to me that they put Raynor, but I could see a little bit of that.
I think
it's good to note that this could be out of date
yeah, that's true.
because
Yeah, it's a good time
Rhaegar
to-
is just completely changed and overhauled, and I would say he could probably do pretty dang good against Raynor now, especially with the leap and how squishier Raynor actually is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Raynor's still in a fantastic spot. He's my highest win percentage by far on my Smurf right now, but I have excellent luck with him. But I just thought worth mentioning, and again, this may be because people haven't voted on it as much since he was changed. Lunara, I just want to mention, is pretty darn weak against Rehgod. You used to kind of be able to, poke and keep your distance. But you don't want to do that as Lunar anymore. Rehgod will melt your face, as Sham found out in one of our Team League nights a few weeks ago. So, like, right after the changes. Let's talk some good synergies, though. TBK, what do we got here?
Illidan, Thrall, Tyrael, ETC, and Diablo. And all of these make complete sense. Illidan benefits so much from that lightning shield, and especially when you talent it with the shield, it makes him super, super hard to kill. Thrall, the same way. He synergizes really well with any melee assassin, really, just because of that lightning shield, the slow totem.
And burst healing.
Yeah, and burst healing. Yeah, that's great points. And the tanks as well. Again, when you talent into the shield on his lightning shield, that's so much extra health for somebody that's got a lot of HP.
I feel like, though, this is a sign of how old this page is right now, the heroes counters on Rehgod, because you see Illidan is 527 agrees to 16 disagrees on makes a good team with Rehgod. And this is a lot of that time people were upvoting it were the time that we saw Illidan at the top of everything forever. So, yeah, that's part of it, I'm sure.
Yeah. But honestly, any frontline person is, anybody is going to be a good teammate with Rehgod. He's just that strong right now, but especially those people up in the front line. It's just
no, I don't
insane.
disagree with it. I just think a lot of those numbers came from the true height of Illidan's days.
Yeah, for sure.
I think anybody that's got some sort of ability to slow down their damage is going to work really well with Rehgod too, because it'll allow him that extra time he needs to get that ancestral heal off that some squishier characters may not allow, or may get bursted down before the heal can actually go off too.
You guys got any last minute tips or anything? I guess for me, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. If you've never played him before, just get used to tapping that Z pretty much all the time while you're fighting, just so you get that extra damage as soon as it's up, as often as possible. But Smash, I know you play a lot of Rehgod, so what do you got for somebody who's never played him before?
I do love my Rehgod. Just a PSA though. First of all, I know a lot of new people have been playing Rehgod because obviously he's really good now, so everybody wants to pick him up if they haven't before. If you do pick up that Earth Shield talent, just be aware that it does increase that health on the target. So make sure, after you get that talent at 13, put that on tanks because they benefit so much from that. I've seen a lot of new players grab Rehgod when they get that talent. They don't realize that, and they just want to hop in and kill everybody because they're Rehgod and they have this lightning shield. But so that that's definitely a point to make. Also, other synergies, I would say also Sonya and Butcher. Ryan kind of touched on any frontline hero that can slow down, but Butcher obviously can slow you down and get in your face, and with that lightning shield, that it's pretty detrimental. But
yeah, and you bring up a good point that it blows my mind how many people, when they're trying out new heroes for the first time, just look up a build and follow it and don't read it.
Right.
And I'm not going to say, that I've never done that or never finished reading a talent. Like the last two words can be very important. Like we go over builds all the time, and I'm like, holy cow, had no idea. Or like a Nubarak, for instance, his burrow charge, had no idea you could reactivate that. I don't think that's listed in the talent thing, but still.
pretty awesome.
I am just as guilty of this, but just make sure if you guys are just going off of a build to read it. It's not just going to make you awesome all of a sudden. You need to understand how the talents work. Multi, you got anything for a new Rehgod player?
Although if you're playing as Rehgod, you're probably awesome anyway because he's in just that good of a spot right now. And after his two little tweaks downward, it's still just, I've had a couple games where he's the deciding factor in so many group fights and encounters and the game a lot of the time, frankly. And I like it. I mean, I'm not against this. I am a Rehgod fan, despite the fact that he was actually the only support I didn't own until yesterday. But now I've picked him up, and I'm looking forward to playing more. So I don't want to see him get nerfed back through the floor, but I still think he needs something else to come down because it's a bit much right now. The other thing I wanted to point out too was that this is actually our first here that we've gone back and revisited, if I'm not mistaken. And the last time we talked about him was episode 10 with Notch.
Wow.
From Stormcast.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
It feels like so long ago.
It was. It was.
Almost a year. Kind of. TBK, you got any last advice for a new Rehgod player?
For me, I would tell new Rehgod players be aggressive. He's a very aggressive hero now, especially with his rework. You can play him passively and back and still do okay, but when he really shines is when he's being aggressive, zoning, getting those leaps in, making sure he's got that lightning shield aggressively, always hitting people. And he's sturdier than you think he is, especially with his the initial chain heal he does. Heals for a nice chunk. So you can actually take some damage, chain heal up, continue to give damage, throw down your slow totem, and get out of there if you need to, and do just so much as a support depending on how you build him. So, I mean, at least for me, aggressive play with Rehgod is key.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's his escape is incredible. The only thing I would kind of warn is if it's one of your first games and you're going against like a Stitches especially, that you might want to watch out for because that hook can be a little bit too much to overcome sometimes, even though you got that speed and stuff. And then like a Kerrigan, her stuns can be pretty brutal. But other than that, be aggressive all you want. TBK, what do you got for us in the community content shout out this week?
So this week we have more Dreadnought goodness. You heard me mention him. If you haven't seen any of his stuff before, he's actually going to be casting at the Spring Regionals. But he was Tempo Storm's captain before this last round of changes in Tempo Storm. And he's kind of stepped to the side, started doing more casting, more analytics, more content creation. And he put out an absolutely fantastic piece. It's like a video on drafting and how to draft and why to draft and certain picks and what to do in what order and how bans work. And so he threw it's like a 42-minute YouTube video out. He actually goes over a lot of Bob Ross fan club's previous drafts from one of the qualifiers. And if you're interested in getting better or you're doing team league or amateur league type stuff and that actually does the drafts with bans. And I mean, can apply even if you aren't doing bans, but Team League, of course, doesn't have those. But for like Chair League or the amateur tournaments or something like that, it can be really useful. So if you're interested in getting better at that, definitely give it a watch. It's fantastic.
For sure. And who knows? Bans could be right around the corner.
Who knows?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably
Hopefully.
not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. But yeah, definitely a good video. Anything Dreadnought puts out is worth checking out because the dude knows his stuff. If you're wanting to become a better player. We also have a question this week. Multi, what do we got?
That we do. So we've got it from our good buddy Dagome, a.k.a. Dago.
Daggone.
A.k.a. Polish sausage and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, okay, so he says, I have noticed over last month or so that a lot of quick matches do not have a tank or heals on either side. Supposedly great for balance, but it does throw the normal gameplay out of the window, especially positioning for heals when there's no tank to establish a front line. Do you guys have any tips for games with weird compositions? I find them very frustrating. And again, that's from Dago. So I've been thinking about this a lot this week, actually, and yeah, I think that if you don't have the front line or you don't have the healer separately, and heaven knows if you don't have either, you actually have to play it, at least maybe this is just what I do. I don't know. I'm not saying this is what you have to do, but I personally play a lot more conservative. I have to kind of keep in the back of my mind that, okay, there's there's no one backing me up on what I'm doing. Let me use an example. If you're Zagara in that scenario and you don't have a ton of escapes to begin with, you really can't even fully step out into the lane without anyone helping cover your front line, that sort of thing. You kind of got to wait until level 10, soak a little bit, maybe rely on your Maw to just enable you to step forward and get any extra damage in, but just play safe. And actually, I have this trouble where if I'm in quick match and I've got a weird janky comp, sometimes I forget about it and I play just like I normally do, and I pay for it a lot of the time. So I'd venture to say play a little more conservative. You still react to what their comp's doing and do whatever you can. A lot of times, like he points out, it's a balance issue. They've made it to where the opposing team isn't going to have any healers or tanks, ideally, in this scenario either. So you can abuse that a little bit more. You can, especially in these types of matches, in my mind, pick out someone that seems like they're a little bit weaker of a player and harass them a bit more, because that Vala that's overextending isn't going to get any heals or doesn't have anyone blocking for her. So you can kind of play off that too. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this one?
I agree with everything you said. Another thing to keep in mind is not just safety in lanes, but keeping timers in mind, your fountain timer, objective timers, because you're not going to have anyone to heal you up on your way to objective or when you get there, and you want to be there with full health. So definitely keep that in mind. And as I mentioned earlier, it seems like this has been happening a lot more frequently over the past week. And when they first made this change, it was great. I didn't really notice anything wrong with it. And this could be several reasons. It could be, maybe people are just playing more assassins and specialists right now, or I'm not a developer or anything, but maybe one change in the game can somehow mess things up. I don't know if a change like in a hero balance patch could somehow screw coding up for something else. Again, I don't know, but maybe that happened. Something just seems wonky right now. But bottom line is you just got to be prepared for it and accept that it's happened. There's some people still aren't wanting to. Like I mentioned over Twitter, I got in a game with a Tyrande who ended up being the solo Tyrande and didn't take any healing talents. And while it's quick match, play how you want to play. If they wanted to try out that build, that's fine. But it can keep in mind you can other people are there that probably want to win. So just adapt to your situations, even if it's may not be what you want to do. Like you might not be able to go your favorite build. Take some more healing, or defensive
Sustain
talents.
stuff.
Sustain stuff. But and who knows? Maybe we'll get something from Spirion coming out. That something happened, because it is happening a lot more frequently, and I do think something's wrong, because like I said, it's either no tanks and a lot of no tanks, no support right now, or I have 2-3 warriors on a team. So it feels like they could be splitting that up, but I don't know. Who knows? TBK, you got anything?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you have to kind of think of it as a different game mode almost when that type of thing happens, because there's technically no rules that says you have to have a support, you have to have a tank, and you have to have 3 damage. They kind of built the characters, the heroes, around having a tank or having a healer or whatever, but there's never been a strict rule in heroes that says this is the meta. It's a tank, it's a healer, it's 3 damage. And so I think in some ways I like those games because they help you think outside the box a little bit in how you deal with those situations. You may, like Gizmo said, you may take a different talent build or take more sustainy type things. So I think I don't know. I like it in some ways because it makes it more interesting. You can deviate sometimes from a normal build you might do with a hero. It makes you think different strategically, and sometimes that can carry into other games, like using your character in a different way that you didn't think about before. Or I don't know. It's interesting. I think it mixes stuff up sometimes. I've had a few of them. I don't have them super often. Maybe one in every 5 to 10 games. So it's not super often, but it's more often
That's
than
lucky.
yeah. Well, yeah, for me at least, it's not super often, but it's often enough that I notice it's happening and it's a thing now. I kind of feel like it's partially due to people not queuing up as tank and support or warrior and support type choices, and I think it probably gets worse whenever heroes are released that are damage because you see them a lot more and people are queuing as those a lot more type of heroes a lot more. Like with Li Ming, I saw it a lot more, especially after she was recently released. A lot more just damagey types or damage without a tank or tank and damage without a support. So I don't know. I feel like that could play into it some. We're starting to get out of that new feel. It'll be interesting to see if when Zool comes out, it kind of stays the same way or changes.
Yeah, I don't- it's just super crazy. I actually found, when she first came out, there wasn't that many problems, at least for me. But again, who knows? Smash. I don't know. Have you been encountering this at all, or what do you do when you encounter it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always bound to happen, in quick match and everything. And my 2 cents would be just to encourage people to, experiment with those builds. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people will see, what's the, you kind of touched on this, but what's the top build on Hot Slogs, and they kind of lock into that. But, if you don't have a tank, maybe this is the opportunity to finally, build Leoric a little more tanky if you haven't before, or if you have more than one support and you're playing Malfurion, go ahead and go Twilight Dream, or go get those Moonfire talents. You might, I kind of enjoy those games because you kind of find something new that maybe you didn't see before. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents. And also, if you don't have a tank, just utilize whatever strengths you have for your team. You may have no tank, but you may have really good push potential. So maybe you have Zag and Asmodan. Well, who cares? You don't need a tank. Go push down every, fort you can with lightning speed and get experience that way. So, as with anything, it's just a thinking game. Think about what cards you've been dealt and kind of leverage yourself in whatever direction you can. But
Yeah. And honestly, I think this question came at a terrible time for me because it's in the end, it's quick match. It's not supposed to be a super competitive try hard mode. But the problem for me that I've been playing a lot of my Smurf, which I'm only in quick match right now because I'm not level 30, and I have been try harding and getting butt hurt easy. So I'm a little extra salty because of that. But in the end, it doesn't really matter as long as both teams are even, because
Yeah.
you have no warrior tanks, they have no warrior tanks. It's who's got the better game plan is probably gonna.
And and honestly, this may be a really good opportunity to learn more warrior roles or learn more support roles, because then you've just guaranteed yourself either a warrior or a support on your team.
Absolutely, that's a really good point. But thank you for the question, Dagome. Another good one as always. That's gonna wrap it up this week, though. Multi, why don't you let people know where we can be reached?
We can be found in-game by typing /join space LOTS to join our channel in-game, get some games going. Also, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Lords of the Storm, where you can also find a stickied link to our Discord, which kind of works like the in-game channel in that you can find people to play games with and chat about the game, and also use the voice chat to get involved and get some good games going. So always a good time there for sure. Also, of course, we have our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. We have an email you can send questions into, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. We also have our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm, and we are now live 9 p.m. Central on Wednesdays. So come check us out there if you haven't yet. And yes, we are, of course, always a part of the Zord Network at zordnetwork.com, where you can find links to this show and some other stuff. And, of course, one other thing you can do is help out the show by leaving us 5-star iTunes and positive Stitcher reviews. Again, just giving us feedback we could really use and, helping us stay on top of the lists and visible to the community and all that. So we appreciate that. And, of course, we do definitely appreciate any donations at all, patronage through the Patreon. That's just been such a huge deal for us and blowing our minds all the time with that sort of stuff. So that is, of course, patreon.com/Lords of the Storm.
Absolutely. And also, since we are doing live stuff now and having a lot more VODs, it would really help us out if you guys went to our YouTube channel and gave that a
That too.
subscribe, because we got to get to the 100 subscriptions now to get the custom link, which makes it easier for people to find us. But yeah, it's
Just go to youtube.com/AW37648X2.
just search for Lords of the Storm. You'll find it.
We'll have it. I'll make sure to put the YouTube channel link in the show notes now too.
Yeah.
For you guys.
But you can also find us individually. You can find me on Twitter at Gizmozord and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gizmozord. You can also find me occasionally on Convert to Raid, the World of Warcraft podcast for Raiders. It's always a good time over there with Pat and Darius and one of the other co-hosts, depending on the week who's on. And you can find me doing the Blizz Pro Weekly on YouTube Weekly, most of the time, video series of all things Blizzard. Multi, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at Multizord, also on a Overwatch podcast, The Cavalry, which you can follow on Twitter at The Cavalry Show. And yes, I'm on that Blizz Pro Weekly news show as well, and I have an occasional Hearthstone blog, hearthstone.zordnetwork.com.
I imagine a lot of stuff coming out of there as soon as that expansion drops.
Oh, no, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts.
TBK, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and on twitch.tv/TBKZord, where I stream occasionally and also cast Chair League games on Monday and Thursday nights. I believe tomorrow, which would be today when the episode releases, 8 Central, I'll be starting. So it's always a lot of fun.
Excellent. And Smash Man, thank you so much for joining us once again. It's been a long time. It's been too long. It's been a
pleasure.
But where can you be found?
You can find me at Smash Sword Heroes on Twitter. I also stream on occasion. I'm going to try and make that more of a regular thing at twitch.tv/SmashSword. And then also, if you want to hit me up on Battle.net, it's Smash Sword number 1351. Always love finding new people to play with and trying to find someone to get a Chair League team going. So if anybody's down, hit me up. Let's play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's episode, though, guys. Make sure you check out the Rehgod build, Rehgod, and check out that music video because it's awesome. Church of Rehgod, I think is what it's called. But we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.